Brodes Media.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Super fun show today. Before we talk about it, if you're new to the channel, make sure you're hitting the subscribe button and hit the thumbs up button as well. And real quickly, if you're looking to go to any NFL games, NHL, NBA games, you can utilize the promo code Brodes at SeatGeek's checkout page for $20 off of your purchase. That's eliminating the fees right from the jump. So there's basically a free $20 sitting right there on your lap. SeatGeek, get some tickets, get yourself to a game, promo code Brodes. It's a no-brainer. With that being said, enjoy the show. What is going on, everyone? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Brodes. I'm really looking forward to today's show. Basically, we're going to run through the Anytime Hotline, hear your reaction that you called in with after the game. A few things to touch on before we begin. There was news today when Nick Sirianni spoke that it looks like Jordan Howard, with that knee, will not be available for the New York Giants game. Possibly will be for the Jets, but keep in mind, you have that bye week flirting around as well. So is this something where they take that precautionary route to keep Jordan Howard as fresh as possible for after that? I don't know. You know, that's definitely a few weeks down the road, and now's not the time to heavily dissect what they should or should not do with Jordan Howard. But we were wondering, what will this mean for at least the short term looking ahead against the Giants? And I guess out of all this, joking a little bit, but if there was one guy that you would be okay with taking over the role of Jordan Howard against the New York Giants, would be Boston Scott. So let's see what ends up shaping up in the run game with this being on display. And look, Jordan Howard has been a big part of this new brand and a big part of this new identity called toughness from this football team. TJ Edwards is another, and how ironic that I bring that up. And he signed a one-year extension because they love the way that he's playing. He's getting interceptions. He's tipping balls when it comes to two-point conversions. He's having monster plays where he's meeting players at the line of scrimmage and really even forcing some tackles for losses as well. He's been all over the map, and I did hear an interesting point that I am fascinated with. Every year, right, we get sucked into someone being better than what they actually are. For example, Alex Singleton, because Nate Gary was the bar, it's like, wow, Alex Singleton's really a player. Well, he's not. And then Grugier Hill, wow, Grugier Hill's really a player. Well, no, he's really not. And to be fair, I think TJ Edwards is significantly better than the players I am mentioning right now. But I do wonder, is it well, because we are comparing some of these linebackers to arguably the worst linebackers we've ever seen, Nate Gary and Singleton, who's a special teams player, getting thrown into the fire and playing X amount of snaps that got exposed week in and week out earlier in the season. Is there something to that? Now, once again, I feel TJ Edwards actually has, he's a player. He has playing ability inside of him, and same with Davion Taylor. But at the end of the day, I watch Parsons and I watch some of these other athletes that play the position to the nth degree. And yes, there is still an upgrade that you can definitely bring to the table in those regards as well. But I'm giving them credit for what they're doing. Taylor, who's banged up as well, it looks like he's going to be headed to the IR, which is very disappointing considering he's shown some flashes, and there's very raw moments involved. You'll get the ups, but you'll get downs as well. But he's clearly a freak of nature going sideline to sideline, and he's willing to play tough as well, which is, once again, this new culture set. And getting back to what made this thing so damn special outside of Jordan Howard is this offensive line. And this offensive line has been so damn dominant, it's actually almost impossible. Like, I honestly feel that way. They are mowing guys down like I've never seen before. Mailata has never played football. Let me say that again. Jordan Mailata has never played football, and he's throwing Cameron Jordan to the ground with one arm. I think in the post-game podcast, I mentioned that was Davenport. No, Davenport was when he got into the tussle, and he's bringing guys down to the field then, because he was also getting in the face of Davenport when Jalen Hurts got pushed out of bounds. And I didn't mind that there was no flag on the play. That didn't bother me. But once again, it relates to what Nick Sirianni is trying to stress, whether it's high school-ish or whether those 5 core values you can make fun of or whatever the case may be. It doesn't matter if it actually resonates throughout the locker room. And there's something to be said about this let's grow together, let's be together, this togetherness, this relatability, this we're a family-like atmosphere, and the connection that Nick Sirianni wants out of this. Watching Jordan Mailata stick up for Jalen Hurts, whether it was the right call or the wrong call, the fact that he's getting in the face of Davenport, a respected guy who does damage in this league, he don't give a shit, and he shouldn't give a shit. That is basically seeing Nick Sirianni's plan playing out on display. So the fact that Mailata's doing his thing, Kelsey at his age is rolling through the second layer and getting Miles Sanders a wide open 25-yard gain, and Lane Johnson, you name it. Whichever direction he's going to put his defensive player, he'll do it with ease. And when you look at the youth, and yes, that's right, I said youth, even though the anchors right now, Jason Kelsey, who's 34, Lane Johnson, 31, 32 range, 31, they're the anchors, and they're definitely on the closer to the back nine. They're on the back nine. Mailata, Landon Dickerson, and right now you're doing it without Brandon Brooks. You're set up for some success here on your offensive line. Landon Dickerson's been a damn beast. And credit Howie Roseman. I know that's difficult to do, but credit Howie Roseman because you win in the trenches. I took phone calls after the game on the Fanatic yesterday, Sunday night, 7 to 10 p.m., and the amount of people that called in said, all starts in the trenches, all starts in the trenches. Well, give Howie Roseman some damn credit because the way that they find these guys, and look, with Andre Dillard, I've been very consistent on this. The kid is a fine player in this league. He can play. It's just when you have a force like Jordan Mailata, who's just a damn beast, yeah, he's going to override an Andre Dillard. But my point of bringing up Dillard and bringing up Herbig, you can plug and play with some of these cats. And you have more than just serviceable when you think about your options if someone's about to get hurt or someone's unavailable. Your offensive line is destroying insanely respected defensive fronts. And a defense that is number one in stopping the rush. That is outstanding. And it also says a lot about Jalen Hurts and his ability. We can talk about the lack of arm, and we can talk about the throwing game being in question, and I think that's fair for the long run of this team. For the short term, though, this is working, and teams are struggling to figure it out. When he has the ball and it's in the chest of some of these running backs, these defensive players are having a very difficult time on making a decision. And when they do, Jalen Hurts is making the right decision. And when he's planting his foot in the ground and breaking people's ankles, he's embarrassing the hell out of them. I will be concerned about the throwing because it's not only him, it's the lack of players as well. You really have Goddard and Smith. Outside of Goddard and Smith, there is a lack of offense throwing the football. And I don't know if there's anybody else on the back end of this schedule other than the Dallas Cowboys, which is the last game of the season, and we don't know if that will be something meaningful and impactful to the standings for Dallas or not yet. Although if they keep playing the way that they did against the Chiefs, maybe it is going to be more of a sexy game by the end of the season. I don't see any of these teams really causing them so much trouble to the point where, it's scary thinking of what other teams can do to you to force you to be one-dimensional. If you can run down the throat of the Saints, who the fuck can stop you? And I'm not going overboard to the point of saying, oh, what are you saying, Brodes? They're going to go win it. No, I'm just saying for the backstretch, like I stated before, short term, if you can roll through the Saints, you can roll through a lot of these teams. Now, they might have a hiccup and self-inflicting wounds. I looked at this team all year long, and I'm sorry, no matter if the opponent stinks or not, I can't rule that this team, or I can't say that this team is never going to lose again, looking at the back half of their schedule. It could be they shoot themselves in the foot, they don't play, they're not ready to play, they don't compete the way they need to. Look, this team has their own flaws, they have their own issues. There's no way in hell I'm rolling them through the rest of the schedule without any sort of hiccup along the way. That would be foolish, in my opinion. But the way that this team has formed together as of late, they had 186 yards before contact on the number one defensive team against the rush. That's what this offensive line helped set up. 242 rushing yards. You can complain that the Saints offense stunk, and that's why Jonathan Gannon was able to dial up some more blitzes and be more aggressive without any fear, and I think that's legit. But this defense is legit as well, this Saints defense, and they struggled. Now, I wonder how much of it was a lack of confidence in their offense where basically there's so much damn pressure on your D to win this football game, and you have zero confidence in Trevor Siemian without Alvin Kamara, without Michael Thomas, without their offensive line. They felt so much, there was so much pressure on their back that it basically broke the Saints. I think that that's fair. You could bring that up, but I don't want to downplay how impressive Jalen Hurts was in the run game. And you know what? Lamar Jackson changed this league. And I'm not comparing Jalen Hurts to Lamar Jackson at all. Let me be clear. But there is this new element of running quarterbacks to a new level that is different. It's just different. Now, Lamar Jackson, I trust his arm's not where it needs to be, but I trust his ability in his arm more than I do Jalen Hurts. But ultimately, there's something to be said about just changing the whole entire lifestyle of a quarterback and an offense when you have a Lamar Jackson. Are the Eagles working with something that might not be to the level of Lamar Jackson, but it's the same idea and it's the same concept of it's different, it's unique. It's not the big arm, it's not the Justin Herbert, it's not the Aaron Rodgers, but you can have some sort of success built around that because of how unique and how special and how creative you can be with Miles Sanders, Jordan Howard, and Jalen Hurts. Like, that's scary. That's difficult to game plan around. You don't know where the ball is going, and if they execute their selected plays and their good schemes consistently enough, you're going to be in some trouble. And I heard Zach Berman today lay it out this way. If Jalen Hurts can be an efficient situational passer, maybe there's something to it. So we don't need him to be elite in that degree. If he could be an efficient situational passer, maybe this team has something here. And I think he's earned the respect to continue to grow, to continue to blossom, and continue to play even into next season, even though I have my questions. See, I don't think it's unfair. Like, I went through this before. It's either he's your franchise quarterback or he sucks. Well, that's not true at all. I think Jeff Kerr of CBS Sports kind of laid it out perfectly. Why does everything have to be a hot take or clout chasing on Jalen Hurts? That's how he kind of opened up the conversation. Maybe that's a little extreme for my liking, but he continues on. Is he a franchise quarterback? Not sure yet. Does he have flaws? Yes, every quarterback does. Is he a winner? It looks that way. A difference maker? Yeah. Let the young player who isn't 24 yet develop. And I'm cool with that. I can get behind that. No doubt about it. See, with me, and maybe this is a flaw on my part, but sometimes I have the same exact end goal as somebody else. I have the same exact timeline as somebody else, but if the message and the tone is delivered a certain way, I fight back. So ultimately, if you tell me Jalen Hurts sucks and his arm is miserable and he's the worst, well, no, I mean, he doesn't suck. He does have a lot of value. You can see he is dynamic in his own way that other teams are struggling to figure out right now. Maybe they make the adjustments over time, or maybe they can't because Jalen Hurts is that awesome. But yeah, I still have fears in his arms just like you do, but you can't take away the legitimacy of what he can do with his legs. And in this new era, I mean, look, I don't know what this means for long term once again, but if you look through the wins over this past Sunday, Jonathan Taylor, look at those numbers. What did Carson Wentz do? Look at some of these teams that won, and it was less about the quarterback's arm, and it was more about the running backs and really firing on all cylinders in that department. Now, Jonathan Taylor's an unbelievable weapon that you don't have here, even with Howard and Sanders. And this guy, thank the Lord, smart people have him on fantasy. Thank you very much. Not that I anticipated this style or this type of dominance, but you get my point. And I don't know if it's really shifting towards that. I think we'll see some answers if they fall down 14 points, 17 points, can you win football games being down? 14-0, 17-0, or not necessarily 17-0, but if you ever fall behind 14 points in the second half, does this philosophy get you back into games? Or what if you're playing a high-powered offense and they won't really see that the rest of the way until you go up against the Dallas Cowboys team late? But what happens when the high-powered offense can score on you? Because what Jonathan Gannon's defense showed you, that it works against mediocre to below-average quarterbacks. What happens with some of these high-powered offense that can score within 2 minutes, 3 minutes, or they just take what they give you, and it's 6-minute drives, but they're constantly scoring every possession? Can you keep up with that pace with this mentality? Once again, I don't know. This is all about learning about the team. This season, I was consistent from the jump. I don't care about wins or losses. And even when they are winning games like they did last week, yes, I want to see them make the playoffs and they put themselves in a good position too. But it's not about wins or losses. It's what do we have here? So I'm still in analyzing mode and heavily with that mindset, regardless of the wins or losses. I'm trying to figure out what we have. So those type of questions I think is very valid even through the win. It's not just about wins or losses for me. It never was heading into this season. And I will keep that the way of my thinking for this year as for right now. But I'm willing to say, with what Jalen Hurts has provided me to this point, I'm excited and I'm intrigued. I don't know fully, though, if it'll work long term. I'm not 1,000% convinced and 1,000% bought in. But I do like the way that he's playing right now. And living in the moment with this team, I'm excited. I'm also excited about Nick Sirianni. This isn't the first game where if you watch the Saints and they're sending a blitz and he hits Devontae Smith perfectly for a nice screen pass to beat that blitz, there's something to be said about Nick Sirianni, whether it's studying film, going back to the tape, realizing the tendencies of the opponent, and it's just him being prepared the right way. But over the last couple of weeks, there's been some great play calls to counter perfectly what the opponent's defense is calling. And that can't go unnoticed. That is stressed. Nick Sirianni has put this team in a position where when the other team is showing something, he's had the response to counter it awesomely. If that even makes sense. Off of play design, and bang. So he's doing his homework, and he's putting his team in a position. Now, it took a little bit of time to do that. But here we are right now. And you know, I just have to make sure that I point that out for sure. So, all right, we're going to rock and roll with some of these anytime hotline calls here. I did ramble a little bit more than I would have liked to, but hey, what do you know? That's what I do when there's a microphone in front of my face. Let me tell you about DeSimone Jewelers. They're my jewelers, okay? I got my fiance's engagement ring there. I went back for her birthday. I went back for Mother's Day. I went back for Valentine's Day. It's nonstop for me and DeSimone Jewelers, and you'll know exactly why when you go in there, you tell them that Brodes sent you, and they hook you up. They work with you to get the best design at the most reasonable price you will find in the market. It's a family-owned business. Will, Lou, Nick, Mike, they are fantastic people, and they treat you like you are part of their family. It's not where you're a customer and they're trying to make a quick buck. No, they are so passionate. Think about how we feel about the birds, and that's how they feel about jewelry and DeSimone Jewelers as a whole. They educate you. They show you the designs. They show you the difference in clarity. They give you all these tools, and they bring you outside, and they're like, hey, this is the reason why. This is what it is. This is the reason why. This one is the way that it is. And they really describe to you what you're purchasing, and it's an awesome experience. They have custom jewelry design, jewelry repairs, appraisals, watch repairs, battery replacement, diamond setting, jewelry cleaning, and more. Make sure you check them out. They are located in Haddonfield, New Jersey, previously in Jewelers Row. Their website is down below in the description, DeSimoneJewelers.com. Make sure you tell them that Brodes sent you. I guarantee you, you will have such a great experience. It's amazing. All right, let's rock and roll with some of these anytime hotline calls. Here we go.
Listen, Brodes, this is Bryce calling from Texas. I'm actually in enemy territory in Dallas. But what a game. What a game. Any doubts that people had about Jalen Hurts, this dude's a winner. This dude balls. The fact that we rushed like we did against the number one rush defense says a lot. Now, I know everybody's thinking about a playoff push. Obviously, not thinking Super Bowl. But if we can beat Dallas first round, that's a Super Bowl for me. Anyways, go Birds. Hope you have a good day.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to call in. Ooh, you are in some tough spots there geographically. I feel sorry for you. But hey, if you're, and it seems you're tough. You can get through those horrid moments. Maybe you move out east eventually, live in Center City, Philadelphia, wear your Kelly green every day to work. One can dream, right? Because there's no other place you'd ever want to live other than Philly. Now, all jokes aside, look, I think at this point, I know playoffs are being discussed, and there is a true path set up for this team. I'll just say right now I'm taking it 1 week at a time. I'm just taking it one game at a time and not getting too far ahead of myself because as I alluded to, I think it's extremely difficult for me to think that this team could just win out and this team can, it makes sense on paper. On paper, it's, the Giants, the Jets, Washington. But I feel they'll have a little bit of a slip up. They're not a perfect team. They do have flaws. They do have some issues. They have taken some poor penalties in the past. There are a lot of things that you can tie to that you've seen this year, and it's been better as of late. But hey, maybe Jordan Howard is that much of an impact where they can't get themselves established the same way. And I know you could be screaming at whatever you're listening to right now, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and go, Brodes, you're an idiot. They have Miles Sanders. I don't know what Miles Sanders is right now, and I like that he held himself accountable and said, look, it won't happen again. I will fix this issue. Okay, support that then, because I feel that Miles Sanders, and I don't think I'm being too harsh here, he doesn't have the full details involved. His attention to details are not very smooth, and that's why he is fumbling the ball, or he's not staying in bounds. Instead, he's running out of bounds, and he's not coming back to the football when he's running routes deep and Jalen Hurts has him down the right sideline. Those details, excuse me, as I choke on my own saliva because I'm so damn fired up about it, they really matter. And you know what? There is one position other than offensive line that seems they can maybe plug and play a little bit. It could be the running backs. It's not the worst case scenario in the world to have Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, and Kenneth Gainwell. But there's something about this new identity of toughness, and I believe that Jordan Howard, TJ Edwards, these style of players have really dictated that, to be honest with you. And another thing is, and look, there's a lot more than that, right? Jason Kelce, Lane Johnson, and I bring those two players up because I don't want to knock Nick Sirianni at all. I think for what it's worth, he's adapted and he's taken steps in the right direction, and I think he's doing a damn good job as of late. But there's something to be said, even under the Doug Peterson era, 4-6, 5-7. What happened? That locker room stayed together. And there's a common theme. So head coaches have changed, but Lane Johnson, Jason Kelce, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, these guys have been here for a while. So I'm not knocking coaches. I think Doug Peterson was strong in that area to connect with his players. I think Nick Sirianni stresses that a lot to do the same thing as well. I want to point out, though, that on top of the coaching staff, there is a part of this team with just professionalism and legitimate studs in that regard of leadership quality that have been involved for both of these regimes and kept these players playing tough and staying true to themselves and believing when things get tough, it's easy to fall apart and collapse. You got to have that toughness inside to make sure that you stay together and don't let the outside noise really hurt you and stay true to your plan and your ideas and your concepts. Lane Johnson, Kelce, Fletch, even Darius Slay, who's really improved this season. I mean, he's been a dog for you. And I think dog mentality is a little corny. It's working for them, so I hate just using the word dog in general. But I just want to stress the fact that leadership in the locker room has been very massive. What's next?
Most Eagles fans went into this year knowing full and well that it was a rebuilding season where we had a rookie head coach, and on all intents and purposes, a rookie quarterback, and we just wanted to see progress be made. We wanted to see improvements be made. And thus far, 11 games in the season, we have gotten that. Nick Sirianni looked lost as a head coach to start the season, but he's rounded really nicely into form the last 3 weeks, embracing the run. Jalen Hurts, while still not amazing as a thrower of the football, is already like an elite level running quarterback. And defense has stepped up and improved. And what can I say? This team has been improving pretty much every single week this year.
I actually really like your mindset on this, and I think it's valid. All we asked for in the beginning of the year with all these question marks was make it make sense. And there were times, let's be real, all right? It's not being too harsh, but there were many reasons why no, that's fine. I'll stay down that path. Many reasons why we were very brutal on Gannon and Nick Sirianni early. It was warranted because there were times they were doing things that were malpractice that made no sense whatsoever. But there is also a case to be made that when you are new at this and when you get thrown in for the first time as a DC and as a head coach, that happens. And you know what? Even when you're a respected veteran, it happens. For example, when you look at Sean Payton kicks that field goal. This guy's been around the block forever. This guy's seen a lot of football and made a lot of decisions, and he's a winning style head coach. But sometimes you do things that just make zero sense. And Nick Sirianni early on was making zero sense, but the way that we looked at this year was make it make sense and at least build off of each week where we can get behind your theory and we can get behind your game plan. When you go into weeks knowing that you lost before kickoff even happened, that bothered us and it boiled so much frustration as it should. Now, I'm giving Nick Sirianni so much damn praise for having the answer to a team like the Saints defensively when they're snapping the ball and throwing screens to Devontae Smith to beat the pressure that's coming their way. That's magnificent stuff, and that's showing strides of being a good head coach in this league, and there's something to that. So I like the way that you kind of approach this as a fan. Progress, steps in the right direction. And right now, this season, last few weeks, everything's trending up. And it was never going to be a perfect path where it goes from 1 to 10. Because that's unrealistic. That's unfair. You think it goes from 1, like it started off actually with more than a 1. You win on the road against Atlanta. So you start off hot, you start out at like a 7, and then you go down to 2, and then you see some weeks of 1, 1, 1, if not 0, and then you show a little bit here because your offense looked good, but then your defense looked poor. You were scoring points against good teams, but you couldn't stop any team from scoring. So, you kind of level that out a little bit when you're looking at the path and the trajectory early on in the season. So it was going to be a bumpy ride, and we're kind of here right now. So I love the way that you kind of analyze the season, and I fall right in the same spot as you.
Listen, man, there's some things I could criticize about that game, how we let the Saints back in it, and Jonathan Gannon's defense is suspect as fuck, even though the playmakers made some great defensive plays. Jalen Reagor sucks on offense. And what was the other thing I wanted to say? Oh, yeah, Miles Sanders, he's looking a little But when you take the best rush defense and you shove the ball straight up their ass and put 40 on them when that team hasn't let up 30 this entire year, you got to say, how about them Birds, baby? Woo!
I love it. I absolutely love it. Now, keep in mind, there was a pick 6 involved to score some of those points, but that doesn't change the fact that they absolutely mollywopped them, and it starts with that offensive line. I can't get over it. I mean, it really is special. And I know it's not the sexiest in the world, and we're a smart fan base, right? So there are a lot of people in this city that might not see it or that sees it the right way, and some other cities might just watch football and not truly understand the trenches the way we do here. So I know that we witnessed this and we appreciate it like no other, especially because this is an organizational philosophy for years and years and years and years and years now. We build from within, and then we build from within those trenches and kind of fill out the roster from there, as they should, because that's a winning formula of football. But goddamn, that was special. That was unbelievable. You go back to the tape and you watch these plays in slow motion. And if you target on each of these linemen one by one and study what they're doing, play by play, Landon Dickerson, Jason Kelsey, Jordan Mailata, it's unreal. It actually almost doesn't make sense. When I said earlier that it seemed impossible to be this lethal, it honestly felt that way. And then I get back into more excited thoughts because I know I try and stay in the short term and I try and stay in the now, but naturally my brain does branch out into a longer form of thinking. And Jordan Mailata, Lane Johnson still has more time left. Landon Dickerson, what's working at right guard right now, there's something to this for serious roster building wise. And that's the start of this retool. That's the start of this rebuild. Now, I think we need some help defensively in that area. You know, you're getting older in Fletch, and Hargrave has been a little bit more quiet. And I like Josh Sweat. I don't think he's necessarily a pure starter, but he's more than a rotational piece. He's somewhere in between that. He's a serviceable guy as a starter, but I would like to have a little bit more than that. Maybe he could be that. Maybe he can, and I'm not giving him enough credit right now, but I think he's an in-betweener. He's more than just a rotation piece, and he's definitely, he's got some room to grow in for sure. But regardless, to start off with your offensive line being this structured at this age, there's a lot of positive signs to think about for the growth of where this franchise is, for this turnaround that might be a little quicker than you would have anticipated. Ton of holes, don't get me wrong. You still need help at linebacker. You need help at defensive end. You need help in that secondary. You need help big time opposite of Darius Slay. Steven Nelson was a one-year signing. You have free agency money that you're going to be able to spend that's going to be available for you. And, of course, you have a lot of draft picks. So maybe the defense is a fix that can happen with all of those assets, as I allude to. You still need another wide receiver because I don't think Quez Watkins is it, and I don't think Rager's it. I know Rager's not it. Quez is he's a project. Still need some pieces. But I'll tell you what, that offensive line, it's no joke. We'll take one more.
Dude, Jalen Hurts, man. That guy is a legitimate franchise quarterback. Maybe. Well, through the run game, dude, we were impressive. Is all I'm going to say. 3 rushing touchdowns, bro. Impressive. I do think it's concerning, though, however, that we weren't really able to run the ball much after Jordan Howard went down. And we had issues in the defense because we shouldn't blow a lead like that. But regardless, we should celebrate. We have a favorable schedule coming up. Who knows what can happen? I'm about to go smoke a victory bowl. Let's go, Birds.
Nothing like a beautiful victory bowl the night of, and then, of course, the next morning you pack the bowl, and then you go to sleep, and then when you wake up, the bowl's just freshly right there, ready to rock, and then you fucking hit the bong. It's a beautiful thing, so nice. I'm jealous as hell. But, yeah, look, the whole franchise quarterback thing, I fall into the trap. I do, right? I fall into the debate and whatnot, but I just think right now he's showing signs of doing the right things. And I think it's okay to wonder if this can work out in the long term. But with that said, notice that something's working here. And there's something happening here. So keep studying, keep analyzing. You don't need to make the decision tomorrow if he's the franchise quarterback or not. I just don't understand the hate if you bring up the flaws, and then I don't understand bringing up all the flaws without bringing up the positive signs either. Like, there's something to be said about his ability to run and the fear in the eyes of the defenders and the defensive coordinator heading into the week, thinking of a game plan. You just watch the first run defense, the number 1 overall run defense, get obliterated, and they looked lost. And by the way, they got dominated in the front department, and that's special. And it started with the O-line, but there's a second tier to that. Step 1, O-line, win your battle. Step 2, Jalen Hurts, do the right thing and put the ball in the right spots and take it when you're supposed to. And then when you do, make something happen. 3rd downs, made a lot happen with his legs and throwing the football as well. 3rd and 6 to Goddard. 3rd and 6 to Goddard. 3rd and 2 to Devontae Smith over the middle for a 33-yard gain. Those were all very important plays. I'll go back to. It might not have to be a scenario where he's a gunslinger, but if he can be efficient in timely situations, maybe that's enough with the skill set that he brings to the table. And I'm excited to figure out if it's possible or not, because there's something to this success. Fair to have questions, absolutely, but there's also something to this success. And the way Nick Sirianni has been coaching as of late, having the answers, I love it. Screen pass, Devontae Smith, blitz is coming. Boom, picked it up. Bang, move the chains. Great play call. Picking the right spots to counter the opponent's defense. It's important, and it steps in the right direction. So with that being said, we're going to end things here. I want to thank everybody so much for listening to this episode of Sports Talk with Brodes, and I will see you next time.